In February 2019, the remote Russian archipelago of Novaya Zemlya was overrun by more than 50 polar bears. The event captured global attention as these majestic yet formidable animals roamed the streets, breaking into buildings and causing widespread fear among the residents. This unusual invasion showed the profound changes occurring in the Arctic due to climate change as the melting ice forced the bears to seek food closer to human settlements. In this shifting landscape, intriguing and unexpected behaviors surface. For example, have you ever witnessed a colossal polar bear delicately patting a tethered sled dog on the head? What could be the reason for these events? What are the irresistible quirks of polar bears and the astonishing bond they share with sled dogs? Well, you're about to find out, and even more as we walk you through the surprising world of polar bears. We've all heard the polar ice caps are melting. Experts have been saying it for years. But now, as the result of climate change, the ice has melted to the point that polar bears are no longer able to survive there. In Novaya Zemlya, a small cluster of islands in northern Russia, hungry polar bears have been searching for food in human settlements. Novaya Zemlya has a historical significance. It was once a deserted place in one of the Soviet Union's main nuclear test sites. From 1954 to 1990, Novaya Zemlya witnessed the testing of over 200 nuclear devices, including the infamous Tsar Bomba on October 30th, 1961. Tsar Bomba, the largest and most powerful nuclear weapon ever detonated, was a symbol of Cold War tension and technological might. The massive explosion was a terrifying demonstration with a blast yield of 50 megatons. The explosion's impact was felt hundreds of kilometers away as it sent shockwaves across the region. Today, Novaya Zemlya's legacy of nuclear testing contrasts sharply with it being a typical example of how climate change drives polar bears closer to human habitation. Polar bears are often recognized for their thick white fur, which gives them a majestic and endearing appearance. However, beneath this iconic coat lies a surprising fact. Their skin is actually black. Yes, you heard that right. You see, black skin helps them to absorb and retain heat in the frigid Arctic environment. The white fur itself is not truly white, as it's composed of hollow, transparent hairs that scatter and reflect light, which gives the appearance of whiteness. This adaptation is necessary for insulation, as the hollow hairs trap air, which in turn traps heat closer to the bear's body. These hairs also serve the purpose of fiber optic tubes by directing ultraviolet light toward the bear's black skin. This helps the bear stay warm even in the coldest conditions. Interestingly, polar bears appear black under UV light because their fur doesn't block the UV rays, but absorbs them. Due to the many layers of fur and fat trapping body heat very efficiently and well below skin level, heat-detecting devices such as infrared are rendered all but completely useless. The translucent nature of their fur, which is accurate, is not the reason that they do not show up very well in infrared, but rather it's because the outer layers of their skin are about the same temperature as the air around them, so only their face and breath can be reasonably detected. When it comes to catching prey, polar bears are often seen as the ultimate predators of the Arctic, but they also exhibit behaviors that can appear surprisingly endearing and even humorous. These massive carnivores have been observed playing in the snow, engaging in curious explorations, and even wrestling and chasing each other in what appears to be playful behavior. This softer side of polar bears has been captured in various media, including the animated television series Backcom, which portrays a clumsy and lovable polar bear named Backcom who constantly finds himself in funny situations. In the wild, these playful behaviors serve important social and developmental purposes. Young polar bears learn essential survival skills through play. The skill helps them develop the strength, coordination, and social bonds needed for adulthood. Even adult polar bears have been known to engage in playful activities like rolling in the snow or mock fighting with each other. However, despite their occasional displays of gentleness and curiosity, polar bears are still powerful predators that require respect and caution when encountered in the wild. The 2019 polar bear invasion of Novaya Zemlya was not an isolated event. It was a symptom of a much larger issue affecting the Arctic region. As climate change continues to warm the planet, the Arctic is experiencing some of the most rapid and severe environmental changes. This includes the loss of sea ice, which polar bears depend on for hunting. As their natural habitat shrinks, polar bears are forced to get closer to human settlement for survival. This led to increased encounters between bears and people. In Novaya Zemlya, the bears were likely drawn by the prospect of food, as the town's waste management system has unconsciously provided an easy source of sustenance for the hungry animals. Additionally, the reduction in sea ice has made it more difficult for polar bears to hunt seals, their primary prey. They're forced to seek alternative food sources on land. This situation is not unique to Novaya Zemlya, as similar incidents have been reported across the Arctic, especially in places like Alaska and Greenland. Despite the harsh realities of the Arctic, some moments capture the amazing relationship between polar bears and sled dogs. One of the most famous cases involves Brian Ladoon, a Canadian who ran a sled dog kennel in Churchill, Manitoba. Ladoon's sled dogs, primarily huskies, developed a unique bond with the local polar bears. In an instance, a polar bear was seen gently playing with one of Ladoon's chained dogs, pawing at it non-aggressively, a behavior captured in a series of photographs that quickly went viral. In Churchill, there's a town often called the polar bear capital of the world, where polar bear sightings are a common sight, and local authorities have developed a polar bear jail to temporarily house bears that come too close to the town before relocating them back to the wild. However, it is necessary to mention that the bond between Ladoon's dogs and the polar bears is an exception rather than the rule. Though their interaction seems friendly, polar bears are no less than wild animals, and their behavior can be sometimes unpredictable. Now, did you know that polar bears are exceptional swimmers and masterful hunters? Their powerful limbs and large paws are perfectly adapted for swimming. This allows them to cover vast distances in search of food. Polar bears have been known to swim for hours, even days, and they can cross hundreds of kilometers of open water. This remarkable endurance is essential in their quest to hunt seals. With their acute sense of smell, polar bears can detect seals from over a mile away, even under several feet of compacted snow. Their sense of smell equally allows them to locate breathing holes in the ice. When seals come up for air, they patiently wait for the perfect moment to strike. However, the changes in the Arctic are challenging even for these skilled hunters. As sea ice melts due to climate change, polar bears are forced to swim longer distances to reach suitable hunting grounds. This makes polar bears expend more energy and face greater risks of exhaustion or drowning, as the extended swims can be difficult despite their strength and adaptability, especially for younger or weaker bears. The decline in sea ice also means fewer opportunities to hunt seals. Aside from the environmental issues they experience, it's worth noting that polar bears are solitary creatures. Adult polar bears typically live alone. They only come together briefly when they want to mate or feed on a large carcass like a whale. The solitary lifestyle reduces their competition for food. This is helpful because they live in an environment where resources are scarce. One of the key adaptations that allow polar bears to thrive in such a harsh environment is their ability to slow their metabolism during periods of food scarcity. This mostly happens during the summer when sea ice melts. This time, hunting usually becomes difficult, so they enter a state of walking hibernation, where their metabolic rate drops significantly. This allows them to conserve energy and survive on the fat reserves that they've built up during the hunting season. The ability to slow their metabolism is specifically beneficial to pregnant females, as they fast for several months while still carrying a pregnancy. After birth, the adaptation still enables them to sustain themselves and their cubs during this critical period. These endearing animals also have an impressive lifespan for a mammal of their size. They live up to 25 to 30 years in the wild. However, this long lifespan also makes them more vulnerable to the cumulative effects of environmental changes over time. The long lifespan of polar bears allows them to reproduce multiple times, yet the slow pace of reproduction, coupled with the increasing difficulties of raising cubs, makes it challenging for the population to recover from declines. Even though the future of polar bears seems uncertain, their resilience offers a glimmer of hope. Polar bears are reminders of the pressing need for conservation and global action. By reducing our carbon footprint, safeguarding critical habitats, and supporting conservation efforts, we can help ensure that polar bears don't become extinct and can continue roaming the Arctic for generations to come.